Well, obviously Jimmy's last year was the first year away from the team, so it's a difficult adjustment to then be a coach with the first team where you've played with all those guys. Makes it harder. I mean, even though there's still a lot of guys in the locker room that he played with, moving him into our group in the second year made more sense to us. I think he enjoys his coaching. He brings a good positive attitude every day to practice. Obviously with S2 we have some young Cameroonian kids who are still learning English, so his language skills come in very handy there. Plus also his knowledge of players as we're looking for players, right now that becomes helpful, but it's also his experiences that he can share with the young guys, not only how to play as a defender, but also his experiences in his life in soccer, which has been pretty phenomenal when you look at it. So he brings a lot of good characteristics for our staff.
For sure, when you are making that transition and trying to not necessarily gain guys' respect, but sort of gaining that legitimacy, how much does it help having his career accomplishments and sort of having that in the background?
It makes it easier, to get your foot in the door, but after you get your foot in the door, you've got to say things to them that make sense, or else a player's doesn't care where you've been, what you tell them or the advice you give them has no substance behind it, then the player's going to say, okay, fine, and move on. There's a lot of great players that have not been good coaches, so just because you're a great player doesn't necessarily make you a good coach. Just because you've had great experiences doesn't necessarily make you a good coach. So it's a combination of all those things, but certainly to get your foot in the door, it's like having a good resume, get your foot in the door, and then after that, if you do the job, great, and if you can't do the job, your resume doesn't help you anymore.
So you're in a spot where you got some time to work on some things, but you don't have all the guys you want to work with. How are you approaching that? What's kind of the plan?
Working with the guys that are here, and still working with our team in terms of what we want to do in terms of our quicker play, what we want to do in the final third. Obviously there's guys who are here, Valdez and Ivanchitz and, Marshall and, Evans getting his game back right now. So there's a lot of guys that obviously still need to work. So we just concentrate on who the guys are that are here and concentrate on the work we can do with them.
Traditionally, when guys come back from international breaks, have you ever noticed a trend in your time in coaching? Are guys more relaxed, more focused? Are they exhausted?
Or more injury prone? So it's a lot of times it's because like our guys are going to get a few days off over this period of time, but the guys who are gone on international break, they've got to ratchet their game up, and now they're under more, not only physical pressure, but more psychological pressure as well. So sometimes the difficulty is when they come back is to find little snippets of time where you can give them a break, because they also need a break, just like the other guys did. But it's also a situation of sometimes if things go well internationally, they can carry that into their game domestically, so that becomes a big plus for us. So it's making sure that we balance the workload appropriately, and hopefully their international experiences are positive, because that then helps them come back with a good attitude as well.
With Clint, have you noticed that he kind of carries it over? Have you noticed that when he's come back, has he sort of carried things into this?
He's the same as every other player. It's like I said. I mean, sometimes if it's going well on your club side, you carry that into your national team side, and sometimes if the national team side's going well, you carry that into your club side. So I think all players are pretty similar in that regard.
Does Ozzy look physically rejuvenated to you at all to start the season? Seems like he's had a bit of a bounce in his step the first couple games here.
I think Ozzy's attitude and approach has been really, really good. We talked a lot in the off season. He and I met, on a few occasions, and we just talked about here's what we need and here's what we got to look for, and here's what we got to give. And I think Ozzy has really complied, with that. Has put that effort in, and I think he sees it now on the field. I think there's an energy level from him that is like, I think, the Osvaldo Alonso who was MVP of our team, for a lot of those years. So once a player sees that, then it's a lot easier to continue to buy in on what we're asking him to do.